Shakedown Thunder out there in beautiful L.A. Let's talk about the breaking news that broke overnight or during Monday Night Football. Brian Kelly heading to LSU to take over the job for Ed Odron. So, George, what's your sense on that one?
It was a lot of shock as to the news that broke. They always say you'll remember where you are when something happens. And the news broke while I was over in Adventureland in Disneyland. So the phone started blowing up, and at that time it was all conjecture. But then later on that evening, we found out through a message that Coach Kelly had indeed sent a text message to the players that he was departing the University of Notre Dame.
Wow. Why did he meet with his players? Or he just basically got out of Dodge real quick? Because I think that's kind of like, no offense, pretty low.
Well, one, he stayed behind, I believe, from the team returning and was recruiting out on the recruiting trail while all this was going down.
Mm-hmm.
And, sending a text message is just not the way to do business. I can remember, what was his name? Randy Edsel had done something similar to that when he was with UConn.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to battle with these kids every Saturday. You get them to learn your system. You try to be honest with them and bring them up right. And then the next minute, he's gone.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sense of betrayal right now with that team.
Yeah, I feel like most of the team should be in an uproar because, and I found out one of the coaches was out on the recruiting trail. It was on Matt, one of the beat writers, I think.
Fortuna.
Yeah, put out a text message, and one of the one of his Brian Kelly's coaches was recruiting, and he gets the message right when he was walking out the door of the guy's house, and he's like, and he said, "Beeping this guy." Wow,
It's dirty pool, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
These parents trust you with your discussions that you're going to bring their kid up and through the system with the success. But I'll be honest with you, I think Jack Swarbrick said it correctly. It's the students, it's the student athletes that have made this program so much better with their commitment to winning and, doing better for the university. So in the end, yes, this is the student athletes as to where the program is today. But, you have to have the coaching and stuff. But ultimately, this is on the shoulders of the players now to carry this through.
Right. Well, here I got the text message here. I got off of the gentleman's Twitter page. He goes, Coach Kelly, at 10:08 p.m. on the 29th of November. Men, let me first apologize for the late text, but more importantly, not being able to share this news with you in person. I will be leaving Notre Dame. I'll be flying back to South Bend tonight to be able to meet with you in the morning, but the news broke later today, and I'm sorry that you found out through social media and news reports. I will have more to share with you and meet with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., but for now, I just know that my love for you is timeless, and I am so proud that all of you have accomplished. Our program is elite because of our hard work, your hard work and commitment, and I know that will continue. It's like basically telling the players, like, in a wrong state of mind, like, go in and have a nice day, in a nice way.
It's truly it's a selfish act.
Yeah.
It's a selfish act. Never should have happened this way. According to Schwarbrick this morning in his press conference, the signs there were what was going to happen actually came in a Freudian slip a couple weeks ago when Coach Kelly was asked about whether he was going to stay with the university or not.
Mm-hmm.
Was he leaving? He said, I would never leave unless the price was right and my wife agreed with it. And when you think back about certain words and a Freudian slip like that, everything makes sense. He had been in talks with USC about going out there for that coaching job, which was quite a surprise. But the bigger surprise was how the LSU bomb was dropped on us really quick.
Right. I just feel like he should have been a little more upfront with people. But coaches these days, like, you saw with Riley, who went out to USC, he held it basically to his chest, and somebody asked him the night before after the Oklahoma game, said, "Are you going to LSU?" And he goes, "No, I'm not going to LSU." Like, like he slipped too. So it's like, just come out and say, yes, I'm leaving.
Chris, it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
What happens with the students is that they got to go through the transfer portal. Some students have to sit out. Some students don't. Where a coach can leave in the middle of his contract and go coach the next season.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So it's dirty pool, but you know what? He did good things for the program. But people are on social media. Some people are telling me this morning how the backlash towards Kelly has been kind of brutal. But I'm like, you know what? He set this up for himself.
Right.
Absolutely set this up for himself. And what happens is what he gets.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's a rebuilding. They had a tough year rebuilding through the offensive line and learning a new system from the new defensive coordinator, which I'm not saying he's going to be the new head coach, but
right.
that's the big talk on social media. But it's going to be another now second building year, having to learn a new system. Yeah. Because, what happens sometimes, a coach takes his coordinators with him too.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And also I could see the writing on the wall because the way he talks to the South Bend media members, and it seemed like the South Bend media members doesn't even, it seemed like they had a lot of friction with him ever since he got there. It's like, because if you listen to some of the press conference over the years, it was like he gets in arguments with people, like, some people from the Tribune and all that stuff. It's like, they're just trying to do your job, man. And he even got in an argument with me over the phone.
Well, there's those moments. I mean, sometimes the coach does that in frustration and whatever. Mm-hmm. But in the end, Brian Kelly owns this.
Right.
And when you leave your team like this, the interesting part I would say though more is how the fan base, how many people said they did not like Brian Kelly as a coach. But these are the same ones now being frustrated with the fact that he's leaving the program. So. Yeah.
So what do you think should run the program? A lot of people right here are like Urban Meyer. He wants to he wants to roll out of Jacksonville because I think
Urban Meyer, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. What do you think?
Not a good pick.
What do you think?
I think it's going to be the defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman.
Okay.
The comments were made here months ago that that quote unquote that he was the next head coach of Notre Dame.
Oh, so basically Brian Kelly set this up way before LSU, and
I don't think this was set up. I think there was a long-term goal that Brian Kelly was staying, but was going to groom Marcus Freeman into being the head coach.
Yeah.
Not saying that he's going to be the head coach, but just going back to conversations that were had in press conferences.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I truly think he should have stayed because he doesn't do well against Alabama. He hasn't beaten Alabama. He's 0-2. Got annihilated the last couple times in a bowl game. Now you got to face him every year. Then Georgia basically beat you guys twice, at home and away. And then you got to face Jimbo, in Texas A&M, and his record against Jimbo is like 1-5. I think he beat Jimbo once when Jimbo was at Florida State. But it's to me, it's like, why you want to? It's just like Jimbo Fisher. Why you want to go into a conference knowing that you're going to struggle in that first couple of years trying to get through Alabama, and you're in LSU. They're expecting championships.
Here's what's going to happen, Chris. Mm-hmm. There's two different types of players. You have student athletes in Notre Dame that are held to a higher standard than the rest of the country. Okay.
Yeah.
You have SEC players that come in with a different level of scholastic ability. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're still legitimate to play in the NCAA because they have to maintain some level. But in the SEC, you're getting a different type of player. So if Brian Kelly wins the national championship, it's not that he's a great coach. It's the fact that he's the coach that had great football players.
Wow.
That gets us, 4- and 5-star recruits that Notre Dame cannot get. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the telling difference. And it's just crazy, You don't lie to your students. You don't lie to your student athletes.
Yeah. And I feel like, to me, if LSU now from the future on, if Brian Kelly comes back as the LSU coach to South Bend, will he get a standing ovation, or will people be booing him?
Oh, I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost like a Met player leaving town without saying goodbye, and and he gets booed, and it's like, well, you deserve it. You did it on your own.
It's all for the love of money.
Yeah. Well,
as the discussion I had today, it's just generational cash.
Yeah, how much more money do you need? He has everything at Notre Dame. Okay, he hasn't won a national title. So what? But he's set for life at Notre Dame. He's like basically almost like a legend. He just has to win one championship and then he's good to go. And then you have the band and chip.
I think there was some pressure coming there as to there was going to be no contract renewal. And maybe he had this, as much as people say we're going to win a national championship this year, maybe he saw the writing on the wall and says, you know what, time for me to cut bait.
Yeah. So who's gonna coach the bowl game?
That discussion has not been had yet. That came up in the press conference today. Okay. They're not naming an interim coach right away.
Okay.
Like I said, they're leaving the assistant coaches out on the recruiting trail. So I think it's a mistake not naming an interim coach. Give him a day or two to name an interim coach, but don't let it drag on for too much longer after that.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Well, buddy, I hope you have a safe trip back from California. I know you're a superstar now. I don't know. I may have to up my pay raise to get you back on the program, but we'll see. We'll see you next Tuesday.
I want walk-up music from now
on. I think we need to use the Hulk Hogan walk-up music. The NWO.
I'll send you what I want.
Okay, send it to me. That'll be cool. Well, safe trip back to Chicago and a safe trip back to the school.
I was hoping that we'd be talking under different circumstances, but Chris,